our planet is still hiding extraordinary places that barely anyone has heard of. Remote, risky, and often hostile, these locations only reveal their full beauty once you push through the obstacles. Some are wild landscapes where nature went all in, shaping scenes that look impossible. Others are ambitious human constructions built in locations where no one expected anything to stand. In this documentary, we'll navigate through these lesser-known corners of Earth, places that feel like dreams made real, tucked away far from the standard travel map. Son Doong Cave, Vietnam. Son Doong in Vietnam's Phong Nha Ke Bang region is currently recognized as the largest cave passage on Earth. Its main chamber is so vast that skyscrapers around 40 stories tall could fit inside without touching the ceiling. In 1991, local villager Ho Khan stumbled across the entrance while seeking shelter from bad weather in the jungle. But it wasn't until 2009 that an official exploration team mapped and documented the cave, revealing its true scale. One of its most spectacular sections is known as the Garden of Eden, a hidden forest that emerged when part of the roof collapsed. Sunlight now pours through the opening, allowing tropical trees, shrubs, and ferns to grow inside a cavern that feels part cave, part rainforest. Sumgan Kutuk Cave, Russia. In the Ural Mountains lies Sumgan Kutuk, one of the region's most extensive and complex cave systems. Its rectangular entrance likely formed when the ceiling of an ancient cavern collapsed, creating what now looks like a portal directly into the earth. The system develops across multiple levels, with huge chambers, vertical shafts, and intersecting corridors. Its scale and layout suggest there are still hidden galleries or sections that remain inaccessible with current techniques. Exploring it means navigating tight squeezes, deep pits, and underground rivers in an environment that is cold, dark, and disorienting. Dachau Cave, China. Deep within the mountains and thick jungles of Guangxi in southern China sits a colossal sinkhole created when an underground cavern gave way. Reaching it isn't easy. The descent is steep and exposed, demanding technical skills in both climbing and caving. Many of these pits drop almost vertically, like rappelling down the height of a city skyscraper. At the bottom, untouched forest has persisted for thousands of years, shielded from logging and agriculture by the sheer walls that enclose it. Filtered sunlight trickles in from above, creating a cool, dim environment where plants adapted to shade and humidity thrive. There is also a huge entrance to a cave system that has barely been explored. To move forward, explorers must crawl through rock chokes and tight gaps, misjudge a passage, and there's a real risk of getting stuck or running low on oxygen in poorly ventilated chambers. Deeper inside, enormous halls open up, forming subterranean worlds hidden just beneath the surface. Rainwater and streams from above seep through the limestone, carrying minerals that slowly stain underground pools with intense colors. Over geological time, these waters have carved long galleries, while mineral deposits have built stone cascades that resemble frozen waterfalls. Jawatan Forest, Indonesia. On the island of Java, Jawatan Forest has gained attention for its almost cinematic atmosphere. The area is filled with enormous tamarind trees, their thick trunks wrapped in moss lianas and epiphytic plants. Originally planted during the Dutch colonial era, the trees gradually expanded into what now feels like a natural woodland, as branches arch overhead and filtered light passes through layers of foliage. The forest resembles a fantasy movie set, the kind of place where mythical creatures might be expected to appear at any moment. Sea of Blue Tears, Pingtan, China. Along the shores of Pingtan Island in Fujian Province, the sea occasionally glows with an electric blue light at night. This effect is created by dinoflagellates, tiny marine organisms that bloom in warm, calm, nutrient-rich waters. When the waves, currents, or even a passing boat disturb them, each organism responds with a flash of blue bioluminescence. Multiplied by millions, the shoreline lights up as if liquid neon were washing against the rocks. Unlike other rare bioluminescent events, Pingtan is one of the few places where this phenomenon can be witnessed fairly regularly, with the naked eye, no special gear required. Mount Chimaira, Turkey. On Turkey's Antalya Peninsula, Mount Chimaira is a hillside where small flames burn straight out of the ground day and night, year-round. These eternal fires are fueled by methane and other gases seeping from fractures in the rock. When the gas meets oxygen at the surface, it ignites spontaneously, sustaining natural flames that have been noted since antiquity. In daylight, the fires look like scattered tongues of flame, flickering quietly amongst the rocks. After dark, the slope glows with scattered points of light, transforming the hillside into a living myth and inspiring stories of fire-breathing beasts. Hukou Waterfall, China. Hukou is China's second largest waterfall and the most powerful segment of the Yellow River. Here, the river, normally broad, suddenly squeezes into a narrow gorge. This natural bottleneck accelerates the flow, turning the water into a roaring torrent that plunges over the edge. The river's signature yellow-brown tone comes from the massive load of sediment it carries. Silt, clay, and sand churn together into a thick, opaque current. When that mixture drops, it isn't just water falling, it's a heavy, sediment-rich flow that amplifies the impact and noise of the waterfall. Verrir, Iceland. At the foot of Mount Namafjall in northern Iceland, Verrir presents a raw, hostile geothermal landscape. The soil is colored in an array of ochres, yellows, oranges, and grays by minerals brought to the surface by hot fluids and gases. Almost no plants survive here. The ground is too hot, too acidic, and constantly releasing fumes. From vents in the earth, plumes of steam rise into the cold air, visible from a long distance. Pools of thick mud bubble continuously, as if the ground itself were simmering in slow motion. Red Beach, Panjin, China. In China's Liaoning province, a coastal wetland transforms into an intense crimson landscape each autumn. This is Red Beach, the world's largest salt marsh of its kind, and an important refuge for migrating and resident bird species. The color comes from Suaeda salsa, a halophytic plant that thrives in salty soils. It begins the year in shades of green and gradually turns deep red as the season advances. While the plant exists elsewhere, nowhere does it carpet such a vast area with such concentrated color as it does on these tidal flats. White volcano Kawah Putih, Indonesia. In Indonesia, a crater lake with milky turquoise water sits amid a stark, sulfur-heavy volcanic landscape. The surrounding slopes are gray and bare, with dead or leafless trees forming dark silhouettes around the shore. From the lake and nearby vents, columns of sulfurous steam rise continuously, giving the area an eerie, otherworldly feel. The water's color is unstable, shifting between different shades of blue and green, sometimes even within a single day, as the chemistry of the lake responds to changes in gas emissions and temperature. For centuries, local people avoided the crater after noticing birds falling from the sky when they flew through the fumes overcome by toxic gases. Catski Pillar, Georgia. Catski Pillar is a towering limestone monolith that rises dramatically above the Katskura Valley in western Georgia. The surrounding rock has worn away over time, but this isolated block survived erosion, leaving a vertical column that dominates the landscape. On its flat summit stands a small medieval church and hermitage, giving the impression that the buildings float between earth and sky. In 1993, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Orthodox monk Maxim Kavtaradze climbed the pillar and chose to live there in near solitude for roughly 2 decades, reviving its spiritual significance. Sanctuary of Madonna della Corona, Italy. Clinging to the cliffs of Mount Baldo in northern Italy, the Sanctuary of Madonna della Corona seems to hang in mid-air. The church is literally embedded into the rock face, overlooking the Adige River Valley far below. Its origins date back to the early 16th century, when a smaller sanctuary was built in 1522 on the same precarious ledge. Over time, expansions and restorations have turned it into a pilgrimage destination where faith and vertigo meet on a narrow shelf of stone. Honokohau Falls, United States. On the island of Maui in Hawaii, Honokohau Falls drops through a remote valley that is extremely difficult to reach on foot. The waterfall sits within dense rainforest where tall trees, vines, and ferns create a layered green canopy. The area feels untouched and primeval, largely free from roads or large-scale development. Honokohau descends in 2 long steps down vegetated cliffs ending in a large pool that forms a natural amphitheater. From a distance, it looks like a ribbon of water threading through a wall of jungle. Wulong Geological Park, China. Wulong Geological Park in Chongqing is famous for its network of giant sinkholes and natural bridges. These arches were originally the roofs of enormous limestone caverns that later collapsed, leaving isolated rock spans and huge open pits. Inside the sinkholes, dense forests grow in a kind of inverted world, separated from the plateau above by sheer walls. Unlike many remote karst systems, this area is equipped with walkways and stairways, allowing visitors to explore with relative ease. Tianlong Bridge, one of the park's most striking stone arches, has such a dramatic appearance that it has been used as a backdrop for large-scale film productions. At the end of the route stands Tianfu Post House, a reconstructed version of an imperial inn that once served travelers along the ancient trade routes linking southwestern China to the rest of the empire. Salto del Agrio, Argentina. In the Andes of Argentina, Salto del Agrio stands out for the intense colors around its waterfall. The Agrio River flows through volcanic terrain, picking up minerals along the way. These substances stain the water and surrounding rock in shades of yellow-green and rusty red. The falls plunge into a circular basin enclosed by dark volcanic walls, creating an almost theatrical setting. A natural amphitheater carved by fire and water. Zhangye National Park, China. Zhangye is known worldwide for its layered, multicolored hills. These landforms are part of the Danxia category landscapes made primarily of red sedimentary rock that has been uplifted, folded, and eroded over time. To ancient observers, the terrain looked like waves of solidified flame, long before geology could explain its origin. Soft slopes alternate with sharper ridges, all painted in bands of red, orange, yellow, green, and gray. Iron oxidation, copper-bearing minerals, sulfur compounds, and clay mixtures all contribute to the color palette, turning the mountains into a natural canvas. Taal Volcano, Philippines. In Batangas Province, Taal Volcano is known both for its activity and for its unusual structure. In January 2020, a powerful eruption sent ash high into the atmosphere, triggering mass evacuations in nearby communities. Geologically, the volcano is a nested system. It sits inside Lake Tayal, a large caldera lake, formed by ancient eruptions. Within that lake, a central volcanic island rises, and within that island lies a crater containing another lake. In the middle of this inner lake, there is a small islet often described as an island in a lake. In a crater, in an island making Taal one of the most complex volcanic landscapes in the world. Anlong Pyramids, China. In Guizhou province, a set of angular rock formations has gained remarkable attention due to their uncanny resemblance to ancient pyramids. Standing in rows across the landscape, the formations rise in sharp geometric layers that appear deliberately carved, yet their origin is entirely geological. While popular speculation suggests a lost civilization might have shaped them, geologists have traced their creation to natural processes more than 200 million years old. Over immense spans of time, tectonic forces uplifted sedimentary layers and erosion sculpted the ridges until they formed triangular pyramid-like silhouettes. Local authorities have identified more than 15 major formations, and efforts are underway to build observation platforms and visitor centers. Among villagers, stories persist of vanished kingdoms and forgotten cultures, adding a veil of mystery to the already surreal terrain. Molnar János Cave, Hungary. Hidden beneath the city of Budapest lies one of Europe's most extraordinary underwater cave systems. Molnar János Cave extends deep below residential neighborhoods, yet for centuries it remained little more than a curiosity. Thermal waters rich in minerals seeped through the limestone for tens of thousands of years, slowly dissolving chambers and tunnels. This constant chemical interaction created a warm, crystal-clear underwater labyrinth that divers now explore in long passages illuminated only by their lights. Although known since the 19th century, serious documentation did not begin until the mid-20th century. Even today, divers continue to discover new sections. Vertical shafts, interconnected rooms, and massive submerged chambers with ceilings lost in darkness. The mineral-rich water glows when illuminated, giving the cave an otherworldly appearance unlike any other underwater site in Europe. Hengifoss, Iceland. Hengifoss is one of Iceland's most visually striking waterfalls, not just for its height, but for the vivid banding in the cliffs behind it. Layers of dark basalt alternate with deep red stripes made of clay-rich sediment, a geological archive formed over millions of years. Each band represents a different period of volcanic activity. Lava flows layered one atop another, separated by soil and sediment deposits that have oxidized into rich reddish tones. The waterfall originates in the highlands and spills down toward the valley, creating a slender white ribbon against the multicolored wall. The contrast is breathtaking black stone red clay and pale water meeting in one dramatic vertical landscape. Gaoqiling, China. In the mountains of Quanzhou, A series of narrow trails wind along ridges that look like frozen waves of red stone. The terrain has been compared to a sea of petrified dunes, its undulating shapes formed through more than 20 million years of geological uplift and erosion. The trail itself is considered safe, yet some sections are carved along exposed ridgelines without railings demanding careful footing. As the path snakes over rounded crests and plunges into saddles, the views shift constantly, rolling red mountains stretching into the distance like a painted horizon. Once a local secret, the site gained fame through viral photographs, and it is now one of Hunan Province's most visually iconic hiking destinations. Canaima National Park, Venezuela. Canaima, located in the remote Guayana highlands, is one of Earth's oldest landscapes, its roots stretching back nearly 2 billion years. Here, immense tabletop mountains known as tepuis rise abruptly from dense rainforest, their vertical cliffs so flawless they seem sculpted by deliberate design. The rivers that flow through this ancient terrain are stained with tannins and minerals, giving lagoons reddish and golden hues. The contrast between dark plateaus, lush forests, and colored waters creates an almost mythic atmosphere. The tepuis themselves harbor ecosystems that exist nowhere else on Earth. On their summits, isolated by sheer walls, evolution moved along unique paths, producing endemic plants and insects that resemble relics from another era. Among the countless waterfalls tumbling from the cliffs is the world's tallest Angel Falls, whose waters plunge in a single drop for nearly a kilometer. The cascade begins as a thin stream at the top of a tepui dissolves into mist mid-air and reforms as a roaring spray before hitting the forest floor. Canaima feels like a world that time forgot, a meeting of primeval rock, relentless water, and untouched wilderness. Lena Pillars, Russia. Stretching for miles along the Lena River in Siberia, these towering stone formations rise like colossal organ pipes from the riverbank. Composed of limestone, dolomite, and shale, the pillars trace their origins back to the Cambrian period, around 500 million years ago. During that era, the region lay beneath shallow seas. Over time, tectonic uplift combined with Siberia's brutal freeze-thaw cycles fractured the rock into slender vertical spires. Today, the formations create an extraordinary skyline of natural towers, cliffs, and narrow fins. Seen from a boat on the Lena River, the pillars appear like a vast stone fortress defending the tundra beyond. Manpupuner Rock Formations, Russia. In the northern Urals stands a group of 7 massive monoliths rising from the treeless tundra. These stone giants, shaped by millions of years of erosion, have become a symbol of Russia's natural wonders. Wind frost and rain gradually stripped away the softer rock layers, leaving behind pillars that resemble figures frozen in time. Some stand as tall as a 20-story building, weathered into rounded or bulging forms that evoke human silhouettes or ancient statues, because the region is extremely remote. Reaching the formations requires long treks through harsh terrain, a barrier that has helped preserve their untouched appearance. For local indigenous cultures, the monoliths carry spiritual significance and are woven into legends about ancient spirits and mythical beings. Anjihai Grand Canyon, China. Carved by the relentless flow of the Anjihai River. This canyon is a dramatic corridor of colored cliffs and steep ravines. Layers of sediment enriched with iron give the walls deep red and orange hues, while the river below winds in curves across the canyon floor. Although the canyon has existed for thousands of years, it only gained widespread recognition after aerial photographs showcased its sweeping textures and vivid colors. Viewed from above, the landscape looks like a painted tapestry with parallel ridges and braided river channels forming intricate natural patterns. Dahab Blue Hole, Egypt. One of the Red Sea's most striking underwater features lies in the Gulf of Aqaba, an almost perfectly circular sinkhole known as the Blue Hole. Its interior walls are draped in coral, home to sponges, fish, and other marine life adapted to the steep drop into darkness. The hole was formed when an underground cavern collapsed, creating an opening that later filled with seawater and connected to the open sea. Divers come from around the world to explore its depths, though the site is notoriously dangerous. A submerged tunnel linking the Blue Hole to the outer sea has claimed many lives due to its depth and deceptive orientation. Legend in the region speaks of a ghostly woman who wanders the waters said to lure careless divers toward the fatal passage. Austfana Glacier Waterfalls, Norway. In the Svalbard archipelago, Austfana is among the largest ice caps in the Arctic. During the brief summer, meltwater gathers on its surface, tracing networks of streams, channels, and pools across the ice. These liquid pathways merge into broad meltwater rivers that run across the glacier toward the sea. At the edges, the water plunges off the ice cliffs directly into the ocean, forming some of the Arctic's most dramatic seasonal waterfalls. The contrast between solid ice-flowing water and the polar sea creates a dynamic environment that scientists study closely to understand climate-related changes in glacier behavior. Capitol Reef National Park, Utah, United States. Capitol Reef is a vast geological corridor defined by towering sandstone cliffs, folded rock layers, and sweeping high desert vistas. The Fremont River cuts through the landscape, supporting a ribbon of vegetation in an otherwise arid region. Along the cliffs, layers dating from the Permian through the Cretaceous periods are exposed, revealing a cross-section of nearly 200 million years of Earth's history. Iron oxides give the rocks their red tone, while erosion sculpted domes, ridges, and canyons into intricate forms. In the northern reaches of the park lie the Bentonite Hills' soft, clay-rich mounds formed by the transformation of ancient volcanic ash. Their surfaces appear smooth and velvety, shifting in color, depending on moisture and mineral content, transitioning from bluish-gray when dry to greenish or reddish hues when wet. Kerala, India. Kerala, often called the Land of the Gods, is known for its lush ecosystems, cultural depth, and long-standing spiritual traditions. Thick tropical forests blanket much of the region, sheltering elephants, big cats, and brilliantly colored bird species. Along the coast, palm-fringed golden beaches stretch for miles facing the Arabian Sea. Inland, the famous backwaters form a maze of canals, lagoons, and lakes surrounded by rice paddies and coconut groves. Communities live along these waterways in villages where boats function as the primary mode of transport. To the east rises the Western Ghats, a UNESCO-protected mountain range where tea, coffee, and spice plantations create patchwork landscapes. Among the scenic points is Parunthumpara, a high viewpoint offering sweeping views over hills, plantations, and forests. Tugela Falls, South Africa. For many years, Tugela Falls was believed to be the tallest waterfall on Earth, until updated measurements placed it just behind Angel Falls in Venezuela. It begins high on the basalt cliffs of the Drakensberg Range, within a formation known as the Amphitheater, an immense wall of volcanic rock shaped by eruptions nearly 180 million years ago. Its name comes from the Zulu word thukela, meaning sudden or unexpected, referring to the force with which the water surges down the cliff after heavy rains. During the rainy season, the normally delicate cascades transform into a powerful series of plunges, tumbling through 5 distinct drops before reaching the valley below. Mist rising from the falls feeds the surrounding vegetation, creating isolated pockets of greenery in an otherwise harsh mountain environment. Pingshan, Grand Canyon, China. Recognized among Hubei province's most striking natural landscapes, Pingshan Grand Canyon is defined by its towering cliffs and the turbulent river that carved it. Millions of years of erosion by the Jinsha River exposed rock layers shaped by the rise of the Himalayas and tectonic shifts across western China. Certain sections of the gorge narrow so drastically that only a single boat can pass at a time, emphasizing the canyon's dramatic scale. Not far from this rugged landscape lies the Shiziguan Floating Bridge, a walkway set on buoyant foam blocks and anchored by steel chains. It drifts gently on the surface of the Qingjiang River, providing an unusual yet stable passage across the water, surrounded by steep canyon walls. Death Valley, United States. Located in southeastern California, Death Valley is one of the hottest and driest places on the planet. Shaped by extreme climate and geological forces, the Eureka Dunes dominate one section, forming massive golden ridges rising from the desert floor. Because of their remoteness, this area remains silent and largely unvisited, amplifying the scale of the surrounding mountains. Elsewhere in the valley lies Badwater Basin, a cracked expanse of white salt flats situated 86 meters below sea level, the lowest point in North America. Sunlight and evaporation create polygonal salt patterns across its surface, producing a landscape that looks almost geometric. Another mysterious site is Racetrack Playa, a dry lakebed where stones weighing hundreds of kilograms appear to move on their own, leaving long trails behind them. The phenomenon puzzled observers for decades, until scientists discovered that thin sheets of ice driven by wind help the rocks glide across the mud. The Devil's Golf Course adds further intrigue. A jagged plain of hardened salt formations so rough and sharp that traversing it can be genuinely dangerous. Mount Kelimutu, Indonesia. On the island of Flores rises Kelimutu, a forested volcano crowned with 3 crater lakes, each shifting color over time. Their hues can change dramatically from turquoise to emerald green, deep red-black, or milky white. These transformations occur as volcanic gases and minerals interact with the lake water, a chemical process driven by heat still rising from within the volcano. Local legend holds that the lakes receive the souls of the departed, one lake for elders, another for the young, and the third for those who lived troubled lives. This cultural belief intertwines with the volcano's natural mystique, making the site both a geological wonder and a spiritual landmark. Simpson Desert, Australia. Located in central Australia, the Simpson Desert is considered the world's largest region of parallel dunes. Its isolation and hostile climate meant that for centuries it remained one of the last unexplored areas of the continent. The desert's most striking feature is its endless Red Ridges linear dunes stretching over 200 kilometers, their color derived from iron oxide coating the sand grains. At sunrise and sunset, the dunes glow in brilliant shades of crimson and orange. Despite its harshness, the desert hosts hardy plants and animals adapted to minimal water and extreme heat. The sweeping dunes and empty horizons make Simpson Desert one of Australia's most visually iconic wilderness regions. Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park, Vietnam. This vast karst landscape houses one of the most extensive cave systems on Earth, formed roughly 400 million years ago. The Sun River flows calmly into the main entrance of Phong Nha Cave, creating a striking contrast between the serene water and the towering limestone walls. Inside chambers expand into enormous halls filled with stalactites, stalagmites, and thick limestone columns formed over countless millennia. Each droplet of mineral-rich water contributes to the cave's ongoing transformation. The region's geological history is so long and complex that it stands as one of Asia's most significant natural archives. Jijin Cave, China. Located in Guizhou Province, Jijin Cave is one of the world's largest subterranean complexes. Formed over 2 million years, it features colossal chambers and towering formations that have never collapsed, a testament to its geological stability. Explorers have documented vast networks of passages and caverns, reaching the height of multi-story buildings. Delicate gypsum flowers, twisted stalactites, and thin mineral draperies hang from the cave's ceilings, while mosses and ferns grow near the entrance where light and moisture meet. Because of its size and diversity, the cave is often described as an underground museum sculpted entirely by nature. Algar do Carvão, Portugal. Around 2 millennia ago, volcanic activity emptied a magma chamber, leaving behind a deep volcanic chimney. Over time, water seeped through the walls and mosses, ferns, and lichens took root in the moist volcanic rock. The resulting structure is a vast vertical tube descending into a green-lit hollow. Its unique interior, a mixture of raw volcanic stone and thriving plant life, makes it one of the few places on Earth where a person can walk directly into the heart of a volcano. Quebrada Gata, Costa Rica. This secluded canyon is cloaked in dense vegetation and nourished by multiple waterfalls that empty into a clear, winding river. Even among locals, the site remains largely unknown due to its remote location and lack of designated trails. Because of its isolation, many waterfalls here have never been formally named. Pools at the base of each cascade form serene emerald basins surrounded by untouched rainforest, creating natural sanctuaries that feel completely hidden from civilization. TheSideYou've Valley, China. Named after the 9 Tibetan villages that once inhabited the region, TheSideYou've Valley is a mosaic of forests, lakes, and waterfalls. Its alpine forests change dramatically with the seasons: bright green in spring, golden in autumn, and snow-dusted in winter. Among its most iconic sights is Nuorilong Waterfall, especially striking in autumn when the surrounding forest bursts into vivid shades of red, yellow, and orange. Its Tibetan name means powerful and majestic, reflecting the waterfall's grand scale. The lakes of TheSideYou've are known for their clarity and distinctive colors created by mineral deposits and aquatic plants that shift with the seasons.